So that was a lot of fun. We got into jets there, and we flew T6s again, which I started in 9 months before. It was a thing of budgetary considerations of the Air Force, and they didn't have enough airplanes, so they just moved us back into the T6 again and gave us 3 more months into that. And then they put us into the T-33, which is a 2-place jet trainer that I flew for 17 years on all sorts of different assignments. And
what does the T stand for?
Trainer.
Trainer?
Yeah.
Why was it a trainer plane?
Well, it had front seat and a back seat, and you put the student in the other seat and the instructor in the opposite seat.
But why were you flying it for 17 years?
Well, we did a lot of things. The Air Force bought thousands of these airplanes. They probably had a T6 at every base, at least one. The base commander usually had one, and he did all of his transportation to his various commands and so forth. But I flew the T-33 for years and years. We'll get into that a little bit. But so I finished up. We did our 3 months in the T-33, and graduated from there. And then I went to Stewart Air Force Base in Newburgh, New York, and we started in the F-80, which is like a single-seat T-33, same design and everything else, except it had 1 seat instead of 2. Mm-hmm. And they used it in Korea as a fighter. You could have used the T-33. In fact, a lot of people did use the T-33 as a gunnery tool. That had 250 calibers in the nose, and you do a lot of damage with that thing. And so they used it in gunnery training, and oh man, they use it everywhere. I love the airplane, actually. I got several thousand hours of flying it. And so we were in the T-33 for we were in the F-80 for about maybe a year at Stewart. And then the Korean War was winding down, so we got a lot of the F-86s that were brought back from Korea. So we got them in our squadron, and we were happy to have them because it was fine airplane.
And where was this?
Stewart Air Force Base in Newburgh, New York.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was there for about, I was there about 2.5 years, I guess. And I met your mom.
And what year was this?
55.
55, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I graduated from cadets in 53. And so I went up to Stewart and flew the F-80 for a couple of years.
At that point, had you signed a contract with the Air Force? That were you on a contract 4 years at a time, or
no? It wasn't a contract. No, you just said I'm going to stay in, and if you want out, you just said I want out, and submit your paperwork for resignation.
So you were just in the Air Force then?
I'm sorry?
You were just in the Air Force, and that was your career at the time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a consideration about re-enlisting or anything like that, or?
No, I never did re-enlist. Never did.
Interesting.
Almost 30 years I never re-enlisted. I just stayed and flew their jets, and we had a lot of different things going on. So we got the F-86 A model, which was the first Sabre jet. And we flew that for about a year, year and a half, and then we got the F model, which is a really, really upgraded airplane. It was nothing wrong with the F-86A, but the F was a real Cadillac. And it was, we flew that and took it to Yuma Air Force Base and went through gunnery out there with it. And then after I was married to your mom for about a year and a half, I was transferred to Thule, Greenland. And so she stayed on. They let her stay at the base housing at Stewart because that was an unaccompanied tour up there. And so I was up there for a year.
And what were you doing up there?
It was Air Defense Command. This was at a time in our nation's history when we believed that the Russians might come at any moment with their bombers and attack. So there were fighter bases all along the northern perimeter of the U.S. I mean, there was a fighter base just about as far as the eye could see. There were fighter bases all along the northern perimeter. And Alaska and Greenland were part of that same shield, so to speak. So I flew the F-89 up there, which was a wonderful airplane. It was kind of a hog. It wasn't real fast, but it had two engines, had huge firepower, 104 rockets. And you unleash those things on something and it's going to go down.
So you were just in Thule for a year and then...
1 year.
And the whole thing was just, did you fly a lot around just to make sure that the Russians weren't going to attack us? Or
well, we didn't fly. We stood alert. We had a rotational alert. You'd be on alert for, you'd have a day of alert and then you'd have a couple days off and then another crew would come in and they would take over. And
so would you sit in the squadron or would you sit in the planes or?
Well, we had alert hangar. It was like a big Quonset hangar, huge. And like a huge Quonset hut, really.
Mm-hmm.
And if we got an alarm or an alert, they'd open up the doors and fire up the airplane on the inside. And we lived on the second floor of this place, and they had like the firemen use to go down the pole. And we're all dressed for the weather, because the weather was 65 degrees below zero, and ice and snow and all that kind of not very nice. So you'd go out there and grab hold of this pole and slide down and land right beside your airplane. Then you'd climb up the ladder and get in the airplane and start the thing up and on the inside of the building and taxi right on out, right outside. And,
so how much flying did you do there?
Oh, I probably more than anybody.
Really?
Yeah, but I like to fly.
But did you fly a couple of times a week or?
Oh yeah.
5 times a week or?
No, 2 or 3 times a week, yeah.
And when you went out, did you go out for like 6 hours, 8 hours?
No, these are short flights. They were an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 'cause it's a fighter. Normally fighters don't carry a lot of gas.
So you have a lot of downtime, right? Because it's Thule. So what do you do? What are you doing there?
Party. Yeah, party. I studied, actually. I got almost a year of college while I was up there.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got 12 hours from the University of Maryland, which helped me to get into my degree plan when I got back to the States.
I mean, you were a lieutenant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you were an officer.
Hmm.
So how did you?
I was an officer the day I graduated from cadets.
Okay, so then you didn't have to have a college degree then.
No,
Okay, but did they expect you to get one?
they encouraged it. They said you weren't going to go anywhere in the Air Force without it.
Uh huh.
You know, your next promotion probably wouldn't happen without it.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of fun things happen up there, and so when I got my assignment to come back to the States, it was for Biggs Air Force Base in El Paso, where you were born.
Mm-hmm.
And so I met Mom. She checked out from Stewart and gone to live with her parents in Cambridge, Ohio. So when I came back, I went to Cambridge and I picked up, I think, 6 hours of college there
At Cambridge?
in Muskingum, where her mother went to college.
Uh
Yeah. So I think I picked up 6 hours there.
huh. So how long were you there for?
The summer.
Oh, so you were just allowed to take the summer off?
I was on leave. I didn't
Ah,
take it
okay.
off. I took leave.
That was cool.
Yeah. So the Air Force was very generous in granting you leave and all sorts of things if it was for educational purposes, because they were pushing everybody to get their degree.
Well, that's smart.
Yeah.
What was your degree in?
I didn't really have a degree at that time. I mean,
But you were studying for something, right? Or were you just getting a general degree, or?
yeah, basically international relations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I finished that, we went straight to El Paso.
Well, hold on. Let me back up for a second. So you studied. You got 6 hours in Ohio,
Hmm.
but you didn't have enough hours to graduate at that point, right? Or did you?
Oh, no, not with a BA or BA. No.
So were you close then?
No, because I had the maximum you could transfer in those days was 66 hours from junior college,
Uh huh.
or community college they call it now. So I had 66 from there, and then I picked up about, I think, 12 in Thule. So it put maybe 78 hours, and I got about maybe 6 more.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I got to El Paso, and then I got into another job with B-47, so I got transferred out of bombers and went into fighters. These 6-engine jet bomber, the B-47. And so I flew that for about 1.5 years. And then my old friend Johnny Russo, who was best man at our wedding, sent me a penny postcard, and he had pasted on the back of it a picture of a U-2 that he'd cut out of some aviation magazine. It was all grainy. You could hardly tell what it was, but I think it was good up about like that. He says, "This looks like interesting. Maybe you would like to have some of that." And so I got to look into it, and I applied for it in El Paso after I'd been there maybe 1 year. And the B-47 unit that I was in was deactivating because they were going to go into B-52s. And so I really didn't want to go into B-52s. So that's when I asked to go into the U-2s.